What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another panel show for you guys today, and we have got a treat for you today. It's the dream team. It's the last word on Spurs boys, Ricky Sachs and Lee McQueen. Starting off with you, Ricky. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, thanks, boys. Always a pleasure to be back on here. Hope you boys are well. And look, it's been a really, really good last few days. Of course, still reveling in that win over Manchester United. And many now will feel, can that be the momentum gainer we've all been waiting for this season? We've got obviously a big run of fixtures coming between now and end of the year. It feels like it's, as you guys know, kind of Thursday, Sunday, a couple of international breaks in between. But hopefully that's the result we've all been craving out for, a winner away at a traditional top 3, top 4 club in Manchester United. Obviously, I know we beat Villa last season and that was a great win. But what I want to see from Spurs now is to not rest on their laurels, go and follow that up. Because I think if you guys remember last time we felt this way, I would say last season on the back of that win against Villa, we obviously lost Fulham in quite bad terms the following week. So I really want us to use that as the yardstick for the performance to move forward now. And hopefully that'll give the lads full confidence. And I think there's no doubt about it. You know, maybe a few weeks ago, I questioned whether there's been like a buy-in under Ange. I mean, look, based on that performance on Sunday, I know many will talk about how bad Man United were. I'll look at the fact Spurs were making United look pretty bad, to be honest with you. I think the players are playing for Ange and they've got that desire and belief in them now that they fully seem to know their jobs, which is great to see.
We very rarely follow up big wins with big. So how often have we had a big win and then it just like we fall flat on our faces the next week? Didn't we beat City away? Didn't we? Then when it lost 1-0 to Burnley, I think the next week, wasn't it?
The time is now, Sim. The time is now to kick on.
Always like that.
The time is now. Ange Postecoglou's second season. He always wins something in his second season, so it's really time to kick on. I think Lee's having a. Oh, is Lee back?
Yeah,
I'm back.
He's back. Lee, how are you, my friend?
Sorry, I just totally ruined that. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. I mean, it seems like it's a very long time ago now that we lost to Arsenal in the league. Everyone was in disarray. The panic stations were in, and now 4 wins on the trot. Dom Solanke, Brennan Johnson banging in the goals for fun. How are you feeling?
Well, some people in disarray. Obviously, most people after we lose against Arsenal in disarray. But it's I tell you what, I've seen more flip flop in his fan base than Javianas. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. Got to stay strong, team. You got to stay strong. No, look, feeling good. I think what's that? 4 in 4 now for Brennan Johnson. 3 in 3 for Dom Solanke. A couple of really good wins in the Premier League. Some people will say, obviously, it was only Everton that we beat 4, and it was only Brentford. Now people will say it was only Man United. But the reality of the situation is to go up to Old Trafford, and I know you boys were there, to go up to Old Trafford. And let's be honest about it, we absolutely tore them a new one, didn't we? Like, we absolutely ripped them apart. And sending off or no sending off, obviously, we did a show. Ricky and I, last one on Spurs, did a show straight after the game. And your guys' content as well. I watched all your content yesterday. And the general consensus is that, the sending off didn't really make much of a difference, to be honest. In actual fact, they probably played better, to be fair, after that 10-minute spell. So, yeah, feeling really good. And I think that change is hard. And we're going through massive change. Whether or not people want a project, whether or not they like the word or not like the word, it's whatever you feel. I'm not telling you how to feel. What I am saying, though, is change is hard. And we're going for a huge amount of it. And
Lee, you're sounding an awful lot like Ange Postecoglou at the moment.
Well, I mean, this is the reality. I don't want to paraphrase Ange, and I don't want to sound like Ange, but I feel the same way. Like I've believed in him since he's come in. A lot of people forget that we were going down Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and just leaving there flat as a pancake, watching Nuno, watching Jose, watching Conte, watching Stellini, and most of the crowd. We interact with everybody as you boys do. Most of the crowd say, I just want to see good football. I just want to see us go on the front foot. Now, we are getting that in abundance. And of course, there's going to be times where we get battered. And of course, there's going to be some times where we don't, but we lose football matches. Like, I think the Arsenal football match, no one likes to admit it, but they come and done a perfect away performance on us, in my opinion. Just my opinion, of course. With a 1-0. I don't think our performances at all have warranted the points that we've got or haven't got, as the case may be. And we could easily be in the top 2, top 3 based on our performances this year. I mean, don't forget we're only 4 points off of Man City and Arsenal, by the way, and that's the draw against Leicester and obviously the loss against Newcastle. Now, football is if buts and maybes, and if only we did this and could we have done that. But the reality is, lads, that we've been playing really, really well. Probably, ironically, our worst performance of the season's come against Coventry, which who cares because we got through to the next round. So you know. People keep telling me, don't matter how you play in cup competition, just want to get through, just want to win a cup. So the reality is we should be happy, and I am. And I'm getting carried away. Why not? Let's go.
Boys, on the back of that, I just wonder how big that Jed Spence goal was in the context of Spurs' season. When you look back at the timing of that goal, I think that would have been, you know, again, not to be negative and bring it down, it would have been what we're heading for, was it 2 away wins in the last 16, 17 games. The mood was fairly low. A lot of question marks on the back of that Arsenal defeat. Coventry, you know, being the next game. And I think for those that listen and watch last one on Spurs, and I've been on here, boys, I think you all know that for me, above any finish in the Premier League, apart from top, the cups are everything to me. I want to see the club go as far as they can in terms of the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Europa League. So for me, that was a massive game, the Coventry game. And I hate to say this, people might think I'm crazy, as big as the Arsenal game for me, because I want to see the club win a trophy. So I look back at that goal from Spence and just the momentum swing in terms of these games we've had since, that it felt like a really big moment in the season. People might laugh and say that.
People are saying, was it Ange's Harry Kane against Villa moment?
Well, you know what I mean. I think you look at, I said that after the Sunday's game, you know, is that Ange's eureka moment? Because to be fair, whether it's rightly or wrongly, Ange in the presser afterwards he used the word befuddled by the criticism, and maybe the fact that, you know, we are as least as part of a project and part of a journey. Where I agree with Lee that we were seeing real poor football over the course of 2-3 seasons. At the same time, I don't think I should always legislate for seeing goals being shipped the way we did last season. I think for me, what I said about this season is I want to see a lot of learning happening. I want to see players taking accountability along with the manager and seeing some growth. And I think, look, there's no doubt about it. When you look at our performances in the Premier League, I think there has been growth in that. You can't deny that, the way Spurs started the season. I think the key thing for me now is that, as I've said, to go back to my original opening, is that we had a very similar performance and win against Aston Villa, as you guys will remember, back in the last season, where we thought that was going to be the run to, you know, spur us on, pardon the pun, to a top 4 finish. I want to see that United performance now be the catalyst and the point where, okay, we can do this week in, week out. Yes, we won't get performances every week, but I want to now see Spurs take that performance and use that as a template moving forward, because we have got good players. I think we've now, and we'll come on to it, stumbled across a system where I think we do know the best 9-10 players out there to play week in, week out. And I think it's now just giving the confidence to the lads that we can do that anywhere, not just at Man United, because we have got good players. But defensively, as we know, we've had back-to-back clean sheets for what I probably would say is the first time under Ange Postecoglou.
I looked it up. It was the first time since October where we got a back-to-back clean sheets against Luton and Fulham.
It can't be a rarity, though, Sim. You know, I hate to say this, and people might go mad at me for saying this, you know, any team that's successful, look back in the history of the Premier League or around the world, every team is built on solid foundations. You can't concede 2-3 every week and expect to be fighting at the higher echelons of the league or wherever you're going to be. So I really want us to use that template now. We've got good players defensively. I love that Ange just tweaked it slightly. You know, I said that last season. We just wanted a few cute little nuanced tweaks. We've seen that under Ange, and I'm really positive now, which is great to be, because I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive about thinking forward now that we're in all the competitions. We've got a great cracking cup tie to come against Man City, which I think we're all excited now, looking forward to. And look, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it. I said it before, if you can't enjoy a win against Manchester United in that style, I mean, what are we doing as fans? You've got to be able to enjoy wins like that.
100%. You know, the naysayers will be like, oh, but it's the worst Man United team we've seen in God knows how long. But, you know, whenever you go up to Old Trafford, it's going to be a difficult game. And
they weren't saying that before the game, were they?
No, they weren't. Man United fans were coming into it with confidence. They thought they were going to do us over. But I love it, Lee, because, you know, my first question was going to be, are Spurs back on track? And you kind of just swept away and got into it without me even asking. So this is probably the best panel we've ever had. You know, I don't even need to ask the questions. You answer them anyway. But
it's interesting, isn't it? Because Ange was asked that after the game, wasn't he? Are Tottenham like back on track if they turned the corner? And exactly what Ricky said. He used the word befuddled, saying, you know, if anyone's watched the games this season and if anyone's seen how we play, you know, they would understand the context of how those results came. And he's essentially saying, like, we've been playing similar way the whole season, but now just results are matching performances rather than before. So I do, but it does beg the question, like, last 4 games we won 4 in a row, but has there been like do you guys think there's been like a massive difference in the last 4 games, or has these results just been coming and we've just been unlucky before?
I think the results have been coming. I think we did a show straight after the Leicester Tottenham game when we drew that game, and it felt like a loss. And it was like, you know, me against the world on that show. It felt like, you know, everyone was coming on, we're useless, we're crap, get rid of Ange. It was, you know, Ange out. It was just mental, absolute mad show. And I was like, I'm not seeing that though. I'm seeing, yeah, a couple of the same mistakes. So, you know, Vardy gets loose at the back post and no one's marking him, whatever. But the key thing for me for that game was that we didn't score enough goals. We absolutely ruined them, didn't score enough goals. Then we play Newcastle, didn't score enough goals. We play Everton, we score enough goals, right? But we could have scored more. We battered Newcastle. We didn't take our chances against Arsenal, but the chances were coming. The time to be, for me, the way I watch football and consume football, the time to be worried will be when you're not creating chances, when you have no idea, when you're running around the pitch thinking, I'm an individual. A little bit like Man United was yesterday. Sunday. Not being rude to them, but that's what they're like, aren't they? You know, there's no plan, there's no action. You know now Tottenham are going to come out, they've got an identity, then you know the way they're going to play, you know they're going to take a risk. And some people aren't, you know, they're risk averse. Some people are very risk averse. Some people are all or nothing. Some people will take risks. And that's why the passion of football and everyone's opinion is so beautiful. That's why we love the game. Let's be fair about it. Mickey van der Ven does not score that, get that assist and get the assist against Everton if we're Antonio Conte team. If we're it just doesn't happen. So, you know, you can't have them situations and celebrate them and say, oh my God, that was amazing. If you want to be pragmatic as well. So, you know, because one don't go with the other. I do agree with Rick. Actually, Ricky, I do agree with you on you know, solid defences. You know, attacks win games, and you know, defences win titles. Right? I think that's it, or something around that. But that's why, you know, we've got the second best defensive record in the league after 6 games, which is quite incredible, isn't it? Considering how many people are telling me that we're so open, and how many people are saying that we're so naive, and how many people on social media are in and around the ground, you know, even on the WhatsApp groups, even my mates are saying to me, nah, this is not sustainable. I've been told Antonio Conte's way wasn't sustainable. Jose's way wasn't sustainable. You know, now I'm being told Ange's way is not sustainable. I actually think, lads and viewers and listeners, it goes out on the podcast as well, that the synergies between what Ange is changing and what Poch changed, so we talk about Poch now, can't we? Because he's not at Chelsea anymore. Is very, very similar. Very similar. And I'm getting the same vibe. And I've got to be honest with you, I think this guy can do it. And I said this the other day on X, and I'll say it on your brilliant show. If the board don't bottle this, and they normally do, but if the board don't bottle this and they back Ange and they keep him, I think he's going to win a lot, mate. Generally, no, it might
come
not be
on,
this
Lee.
year.
Come on, that's the positivity we need on this show.
And the thing is about this fan base, and I'm not having a dig at all the different fans, but you know, because I am the fan base as well, right? I go away games when I can. I go to every single home game. I pay my money, despite most people think I'm paid by the club. It's absolute rubbish. I do all of them things. I invest my time, my effort. You know, I've got 3 young daughters. You know, I know we're parents on here now. Ben, you getting sleep now, fella? Yeah, nice.
Don't worry, no. These bags at my eyes are not for no reason.
Looking good. I'm loving the hair as well, mate. But look, the reality is that we invest our time and energy in going to these football matches because this is our love. And we could be doing something else. So, you know, so I'm not having a go at the fans when I say it, but it is ingrained in Tottenham Hotspur fans to feel like it's about to go wrong. It's ingrained in us to feel pessimistic. And so when somebody like myself comes out, and I'm an optimistic guy, right? It's why I build the businesses I do. It's why I gravitate around successful people. And the reality is that when I'm optimistic about Spurs, people ridicule it. But you have to be successful. So if we think we're going to lose, we end up losing. And I think that is always that's probably got to be the biggest change that Ange will have to make, and that probably will only come. Maybe it comes with me straight away when I see the style of football. Maybe for Ben, Sim, for you two, it comes when we beat Man United. Maybe Ricky, it comes when we win a trophy. But there'll be some, it won't come until we win the Champions League, and that might be in 10 years. Yeah. Do you see what I'm coming from?
I think that's so important what Lee says there. It is about a culture change. And the problem is, look, we've all been scolded as Spurs fans. We've always had a lot of false storms where we think, okay, we're getting there. And again, we're not back down. I think the real key is, as we've said there, he's not only changing a mindset in the actual dressing room and the club, he's got to try and change a mindset of a fan base that has been really, really badly scolded over the course of how many years you've supported this club, 30,
since the
years.
80s.
Yeah, look, at the same time, I think what I would say is that when you're looking at Spurs at the moment from the outside looking in, I know there's been a lot in the last few weeks about the negativity around the form, but was it most XG, most touches in the box, most shots on goal? I think he said second best defence at the moment, third most attempts as well. I think all those things that are coming around and fueling us is sending to us, this does appear to be working. It just needs to take a bit of time. My biggest criticism so far has been that I'm not sure if he's got the calibre of players in the domain in terms of a squad to be able to play the way he wants to play. So my concern is if you take out a Mickey van der Ven, a Rodrigo Bentancur will probably come on to a little bit, and again, you lose Dominic Solanke the way we did. Can we play this way? Is it sustainable? And, again, you might say to me, well, look at City now. They've lost Rodri. How are they going to cope? The great thing that Lee picked up on in the last show we did on last one on Spurs was that Guardiola's immediate reaction to losing Rodri was, this is a big problem. We're going to really, really miss him. Whereas Ange's reaction to losing Sonny in the interview before United was like, got to get on with it. I've had players missing here since I've took the job. I've had issues where I've had players that have gone down last minute. Got to get on with it. And that attitude is so, so crucial because that could have easily, as we've seen before, had a negative impact on Spurs going into a game where you lose your captain, you lose a key player, and it directly influences the game. And it's very much about, as Lee has said, and the way Lee is as a person, positive thinking, PMA, looking at the benefits rather than the hindrances. And you know what? I think we as fans have got to get our heads around the fact we've got a real positive mindset of a manager in charge. I'd say at least we've not just been used to over the last 3-4 years. We've had managers that have come here
5 years telling us that we can't do it. It's like it was meaning us, isn't it? From these managers saying we're not good enough, we ain't gonna. It's gonna be a miracle. It'd be a miracle if we get top 6. You direct quotes from Conte where this is the guy running our football club, and now it feels like there's certain sections of the fan base that are embarrassed that Ange is coming out and being positive. Why are you embarrassed? Well, we want to manage.
Lee, you take it back to Jose Mourinho when Harry Kane got that injury. He's basically saying, season's over, there's what are we going to do now?
I've got a gun with no bullets.
You know what I mean? And our best player going out under Ange, and he's not worried. Timo Werner comes in, no problem.
What did Ange say? He said that when you asked about, if there's ever any reason, he can't win the league, is that there's always a million reasons why you can't do something. I'm focused on the ways we can do something.
Yeah, and I love that attitude. I love that attitude. But in terms of Spurs being back on track, I take it back to your point, what you said earlier in the show, Ricky, about the Aston Villa win last season. And I'll tell you, I think there are key differences here. I think in the build-up to that Aston Villa game, we had a couple of poor results. I think we lost to Wolves a couple of weeks before, we drew to someone away from home. We drew to Everton as well in that period. And I don't feel we were playing well at that moment in time. Maybe we had a slightly good performance at Man United, but nothing like the performance that we just had just now at Old Trafford. I feel like from the start of the season up until now, we're playing the exact way that Ange wants us to play. High pressing, winning the ball back high up the pitch, creating chances. I think maybe apart from the Arsenal game where we couldn't break them down maybe as often as we wanted to, like we did against Leicester, Newcastle, Man United and Everton and Brentford, I feel like you're seeing a clear identity, and Ange says it He said it at the end of the Brentford game, and he said it at the end of the Man United game. This is exactly who we want to be, and I don't think we've heard him say that throughout his Spurs tenure so far. So the way I'm looking at it is that were Spurs really ever off track? Just because we weren't getting the results in the first few games of the season, does that mean we weren't off track? I think we were on track. We just weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. So this question about Spurs being off track and the fans that were throwing their toys out the pram, I think people, including myself, I threw my toys out the pram after a North London derby defeat, because I don't think losing 3 at home in a row to Arsenal 3 years in a row is good enough. But when you look at the bigger picture, and when you look at the way Spurs have been playing in the build up to that game, and when and after that game, Coventry game aside, because it was 9 changes, however many it was, I don't feel like we were ever off track. I think we've been playing brilliantly all season, and these results and these performances have been coming, in my opinion.
I think the main... Go on.
No, go on, Tim. Go
on, Tim.
No, I was going to say, I think the main difference I'm seeing in the last few games to what I saw maybe in the first 4 games is I think our pressing this season has been phenomenal. I think when teams are trying to build up and trying to play against us, we have been so great at catching down. That includes the Arsenal game, by the way. I think our pressing has been so good, and we've been winning the ball in really great situations. I think the big difference what I've seen in the last few games to what I've seen in the first 4 games maybe is when we do win the ball in those high situations, we're really exploiting those situations. We're actually creating big chances now, and we're actually making use of those situations. I feel like in the first 4 games, we would win the ball in really good situations, and we wouldn't exploit those situations. We wouldn't create good chances. We'd waste them. We're being very wasteful in those scenarios. But against Brentford and against Man United in those last 2 games, and against Karabag even, when we've won the ball half the pitch, we're making sure we're clinical, we're making sure we're getting in the box, we're making sure we're actually creating a chance. And that wasn't the case in the past few games. That's been one of the big changes I think I've seen.
Can I also add on to that, if you don't mind, Sim, that, again, I said this in the intro of the show, that I really genuinely feel there has been some tweaks that behind the scenes maybe some haven't seen with Ange. If you look at Pedro's positioning against United, he was nowhere near as high up as what he has been in previous games. So I honestly think, maybe to the eye test, now this is why I say, go into games, you see it a lot more clearer than maybe what you do on the TV in terms of players' positioning. We are seeing now certain tweaks and adaptations to the game that we weren't maybe seeing last season. Again, we saw the City game, which I know fans really conflicted about, where Ange did change it. Was it the game everyone changed for? I mean, that was, again, an open debate. But the reality is that I have seen in the last couple of games us tweak it. And I think we look all the better for that now. Now, look, again, we can have the next couple of games where it doesn't go right for us. But I think the key that a lot of people have felt about the football is we are enjoying it. We are liking it, but at the same time, there's got to be a feeling that this can be delivered over a long-term course. And the thing what I saw against Man United is that players are really buying into this now. And that, for me, has been my biggest question, whether the likes of James Maddison is fully bought in. You see some of the reaction when he's coming off the bench in terms of being substituted. Doesn't look that quite happy. I think Dominic Solanke, as Lee's touched upon as well, adds a different dimension to the way Spurs want to play and want to press. He was the highest presser in the Premier League last season. And you just see the way he's fitted in, like he's never really, been away from a Tottenham team. Even though, like I say, he missed the first game and so, and again, he was out for a period. But you can just see Spurs look such a better team for having Dom in there. And again, with no disrespect, would Spurs have played that way had Sonny been fit? And again, it throws up different questions, really, as to the way Spurs will want to now play in the next few games. But the great thing is that all those players now, I feel, with a result like that, have got a belief that this can work. And I'm not saying I didn't feel it was going to work, but I did have reservations and concerns whether there was full buy-in from the players. But I think Benson...
I don't agree with that. I think that, Jason, one of our own on our show, says this all the time. Like year 1 is about, getting rid of the people that can't do it. And then year 2 is, year 1 is about getting rid of the people that won't do it. And I think he's done that. And year 2 is about getting rid of the people that they can't do it. And that's that ability thing. I think that whole buying thing with the James Maddison referring to an interview that he gave, a few months ago. I think he's been a breath of fresh air. I actually think that this is just my humble opinion, is that the injury that he suffered last year was actually bigger for him mentally than actually that we all thought. You can see that with Rodrigo Bentancur, for example, 2 major injuries. one then another one, and forget all of his problems off the pitch. I'm sure we'll come to that later. But you can see now the way he's moving around that pitch because he's had a year to recover. Are you with me, Sim? And I just don't think Maddison had that time to recover. I think that ankle injury was bigger than what it was. But actually, this year it's not because he's bought in more to the Ange way. In my opinion, I think it's because he's fully fit now, and now he can do the thing. And actually, the tweaks, I agree with a little. You said about the little tweaks. One of the tweaks is that he's kind of almost playing Maddison as a left-sided in a 3 or a little bit deeper as an 8.
And definitely coming into that 10 position.
Yeah, and actually having Kulusevski there. I mean, I think the two of them have been playing brilliantly together as well. So I'm not sure it's a buy-in thing. Look, we'll probably never know. In fact, we never know. But my opinion is it's probably a fitness thing. I think these elite footballers, we expect so much of them to be superhuman, essentially. And you know, a guy's out for, or a lady's out for 2-3 weeks or whatever, or a month, and then we think, yeah, they're going to get back straight away. And the reality is that, you know, it's horses for courses, right? They're an elite sports person, so they get back fit better than somebody like my good self. But equally, they're against elite footballers, so they have to be at that level. And it takes time to get it back. Does that make sense, team? So I just I'm not trying to stick up for the player. I am trying to stick up for the players.
Say it how it is, Lee.
Yeah, exactly. Right. When you've had an injury, sometimes, you know, us punters think, well, hang on a minute, you should be much better than what you are. But it takes time to recover from what you've had. And I think that's probably the more of the case in this situation.
I guess the main thing, Ricky's on board now. That's the main thing, isn't it?
I mean, I just think Maddison looks happier. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't happy before, but he looks happier.
He weren't injured because he was injured, but now he's not.
Well, that's what Ange said. Ange said, you know, Maddison, the way he plays, he needs to have absolute full mobility. He needs to be actually clear mentally of all the worries about the injury. And I think at the moment he's playing the best he's ever played. Even when you look back at the first 10 games of last season, he played was brilliant. But I think he's been another level this season, especially the last couple of games. I think these are the best moments he's shown. I think.
Yeah, but what do you expect? Like, why would he be showing his happy self when the team are not winning consistently? They're not playing the way the manager wants consistently, and there are players which are on form right now. They're playing well. Yeah, maybe in the beginning part of the season we weren't getting the consistent results, but we were still playing well and, you know, identifying what the manager wants out of the team. So I think it's no surprise that Maddison looks a lot happier now than maybe he did in the second half of last season.
I think also, Ben, the key, if you notice that, I'm not saying that Kulu's a direct competitor for his spot, but now it feels like with Kulu finding his role that we all said in pre-season, God, this guy looks great centrally, is that I think it sounds bizarre. Tottenham do this a lot. They stumble upon their best midfield when everybody was saying in the summer, we've got to go out and buy number 6, we've got to go out and buy competition for Maddison. And now suddenly, I'm not saying this is all fixed and resolved and we don't need to look in terms of those areas of improvement, but I think we all now, I felt, on the back of that game Sunday, felt, you know what? That to me looks Spurs' midfield nailed on. Maddison, Bentancur, Kulusevski in there. And the way those three complement each other, they look so comfortable. They look so fluid. They look so adaptable. And, you know, it's just a shame, not to bring on a downer, that we've got the ban hanging over our head with Bentancur, which, you know, whatever we think rightly or wrongly, you know, there has to be unfortunately, there has to be a punishment there because of the nature of what happened. It's just a real shame because I think with Bentancur, we've seen this before, that pre the ACL injury, he was formidable. We could see the kind of player that he was growing into. The shame now is that he'll be our Thursday night man, which is not a problem, but I think we'll really miss him in the Premier League games because my concern is that the difference between him and Basuma can be quite substantial because Bentancur's got that ability to be not only read the game, but be fully concentrated. And look, I think Basuma on his day is a fabulous player. We saw in the opening 10 games of last season. I'm not sure if he's got that ability like Bentancur to be able to read the game as thoroughly, to be able to perform over the nature of a number of games. But we're going to find out, of course. But I feel somehow Spurs have stumbled upon their best midfield selection. And now we've got this dilemma with Bentancur hanging over us. It's a real shame. But amazing midfield performance, amazing general performance at the weekend.
Essentially, a couple of weeks ago, people were saying different. People were saying they're worried if Basuma is injured and Bentancur, because of the gap between him and Bentancur.
I'm not that worried.
Is different.
I'm not that worried about Bentancur being out. I think it gives an opportunity for Basuma to come in and show what he's about. And I think that after the whole balloon situation, I think he responded the next game in the most perfect manner. He showed exactly what he's about. And after that injury, I remember when the last international break came about and Basuma, the injury came about, everyone was like, oh, what are we going to do without Basuma? He's playing so well. So, with these kind of things, different opportunities arise for different players. So it's up to Basuma to step up now.
I agree with Ricky, by the way, when he says, I think in terms of the difference between Bentancur and Basuma, I think Bentancur, the difference I see, the main difference is I think Bentancur reads the game and he's a lot more disciplined than Basuma. I think Basuma, he's great, but when he loses concentration, he can put us in a bit of trouble sometimes. I think Bentancur, because he used to play, I think, that position for Juventus for a number of years. He was actually, when they were winning leagues, he was very much a consistent performer and a regular. I think there was one period before we signed him, over a 2-year period, he had been one of their most used players. So this is a guy who is used to playing at that kind of level for at consistent levels, right, in that position. So he does know it, and I think he's very much more disciplined than someone like Basuma, who'll stick to that position. And I think he knows when to jump in and press and win the ball back, and he knows when to stick in position. Whereas I feel like sometimes Basuma can, in his decision making, and that fact can leave us in a bit of trouble and leave us being a bit too open. So I'm really enjoying Bentancur, but it's interesting how after Sunday, that need for a number 6, people aren't talking about it as much, are they? After it was a big talking point in the summer.
When you play Man United, you don't need a midfield, do you? To be fair, you can just side pick up, if I can, lads, on a couple of things on that. So one of the things that you just said there, which I agree with, is that competition. No, I'm with Ben. I'm not worried if it's Bentancur or Basuma, to be fair. I mean, Basuma's come back in. I mean, not being funny, who would you want in the side versus Brighton? Probably Basuma, right? Going back to his old club, he's got to right from the last. He missed. I think did he not miss the match because he was banned for it last time around? I think off the top of my head, he got the red card and then he couldn't play against his old club. Blah blah blah. So you probably want a Basuma situation in now. But I agree with the competition for places. Basuma and Bentancur for that competition. Sarr, I just want to give it. I know we'll probably come to it. I want to give him a shout out. He's come off the bench. This guy was starting every single week last season. He's now not because of competition for places, which is what we all want. That central midfield area. He's come off the bench and scored in midweek when we had 10 men. Did he come off the bench? No, he started. Sorry, so he scored in midweek. He's come off the bench and got an assist, and a great assist to that as well against Manchester United and Old Trafford. So that competition for places, because he's rotating, and I know the Coventry performance was shocking, but we got through. Because he's rotating, he's now giving us a situation where every 3 days you're not worried if it's Basuma or Bentancur, or you're not worried if Star drops in and or Bergvall, or you know what, Johnson needs a rest. So you can put Decky out wide, not his best position as we just discussed, but he changed it up in the game, didn't he? And put Decky out wide because of that, and that's the options that we're now getting. So the performance levels aren't dropping off. Whereas years gone by, you talk about, this is what you're saying about, we'll call ourselves, too short FC from the board because we're always too short FC. But the reality is that, the squad has got much better in a sense of the drop off that we had from a Basuma to a Højbjerg as an example, or an Ollie Skip or Harry Winks back in the day.
Emerson and all the
but now. But now you've got people saying, we need Destiny's cover. But Jed Spence comes on yesterday for a whole half against Manchester United. He's done great. Brilliant. The left back as well. So the drop off used to be, I don't know, maybe 20%, or maybe it was 10%, and now it's only 2%. So it's still a drop off in certain areas, but it's still good. Maddison coming off with 10, 15 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go gives him that energy recovery scenario for the next game. And we've got Lucas Bergvall coming on. He takes a corner, and it was an amazing corner, and we get another goal out of it. So see where I'm coming from, lads. I think that the drop-off has changed. The competition for places is there. And I just wanted to throw this one in there as well. It's, we play the way we want to, as Sim started singing yesterday. We play the way we want to under Ange Postecoglou, right? But the reality is if we don't play that way, Mickey doesn't get that assist. If we don't play that way, do United equalise? And that's the point. We go 1-0.
Yeah, very true.
Sit back and we invite the pressure and we encourage Old Trafford to come onto us. I think that we've all seen that in our world. And, 10 men, 9 men, park the bus, whatever you want to do. The reality is that the team pushing normally ends up getting the right result. And that's us as a holistic view. We're always on the front foot now. We're always pushing. And typically you end up getting the rewards for that. So I'm all for it.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying on Thursday. Everyone was criticising, because we were down to 10 men, we were so open, we could have conceded all these goals. That's true. We were open because of the way we played, but also, would we have scored those 3 goals if we didn't play the way we approached that with 10 men? Whereas most managers would have, with 10 men sat back, like Arteta did, low block, and try and see out a 0-0 essentially. So
I would say there's a lot of difference though playing Karabag and playing Man City at the Etihad.
The Man City of Azerbaijan.
I mean, I would just say on that point, I think Andrew's made it very, very clear, and he said it, I think, with Bridgie in his interview before the game, ahead of this one at United, that he's not going to change his way of playing. He firmly believes that his way of playing is his own best way of getting results. Wherever he's been, that is what he stuck to. And I think, what we're now seeing is that all the time you're seeing teams that are craving an identity. And everyone actually, for whatever they think about Ange or whether they've had their stumbling blocks this season or whatever, everyone seems to gravitate to Spurs and say, well, look, they've got a philosophy. And it took less than 6 to 12 months to get there. And I think the key is that for a long, long time, we've been waiting to find out the team we want to be. We know that. And the thing which is clear is the manager knows the team he wants us to be. And the only reservation I've had for me is that we need to sign more like-minded players that want to play the way Ange plays. Now, again, in the summer, we were highly critical of the fact there wasn't many, in my opinion, experienced heads coming in. There's a lot of youngsters coming in. But if this is what it takes to buy into his way and they're going to be good enough, I've got no problem with that at all. But I think the test for Spurs will come, with no disrespect, in these next 4 or 5 games. You might say, well, hold on a second. Everyone was saying the test was after Coventry. And we've come through that. But I think we have seen this before as Tottenham fans. We've had a great result away from home at a big club. I go back to Villa last season. Sorry to use that as the comparison I've been doing on the show so far, but I need to see this now as a momentum gainer and for us to continue the run we're on. We've got 4 wins in a row. Yes, of course, involved in that has been Coventry and Karabag again. Karabag were, by all means, everyone said I think they had over 400 plus international caps in their side. They weren't a bad team. So this is now a real opportunity for Spurs to gain some momentum, carry the run on. And look, if Ange keeps on winning, there's less and less doubters. So, and that is what football is, boys. You know what? Despite the way you want to play, it is a results-based business. If you're not getting results, then you're going to be under pressure. And he knows that as well. He's not stupid. So, please, God, there's more and more performances like that to come.
I think it's safe to say then, judging by this chat, then Spurs are more than definitely on track. I'm not going to say back on track because I don't think we've been on track since probably the first 10 games of last season. But I think from the start of this season, Spurs have definitely been on track you've seen definite improvements. If it's the graphs that you leave very much likes, then it'll be an upward trajectory, that's for sure. I want to touch on Kulusevski, as Phil P. Super Chat says, the Kulu Defence League says you're welcome, KDL. And we got a new member to the We Are Tottenham family in Son Forever. So welcome to the silver membership to Son Forever. The question I have on Decky is, I'll start off with you, Lee. Do you feel like he is the form midfielder in the Premier League right now?
Yeah, 100%, Ben, 100%. And actually, some of them stats bear that out as well. It's not. I mean, you're looking at, I think Cole Palmer is actually classed as a midfielder, I think, is he? I don't know. You FPL fans will have to tell me that. I don't know. I don't do it. But
he is on FPL, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. But look, from a positional perspective, where he plays, he's kind of a forward 8 or a deep line 10. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. Actually, all season. I think I said on last one on Spurs this week as well on the show that we did that even in the international break, I think by all accounts he ran the Swedish game that he played in. So I think he's been absolutely brilliant. I think it's Rick used the words, stumble across a midfield. Again, sorry to disagree with you again, boss, but I don't think we have stumbled across a midfield. I think that, Decky's been quite clear, even when he came to the football club, that his best position is in the middle. And I think that Ange had been using him. He changed it up, didn't he? As you said earlier, with against City, and due to injuries, he started playing Decky through the middle a little bit towards the end of last season. Through the whole of pre-season, I know you boys are on the tour. You played him as a false nine and played him through the middle, and now he's been doing him playing through the middle again, and I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. I think I saw a statistic the other day after the game that I think he's got more big chance creations than any other player in the league in them positions, like over Kevin De Bruyne, over Foden, over Saka. And I think you boys said it yourself. I think he created 3 big chances in himself just in the Man United game. Mm-hmm. So it's insane. I mean, he's just brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. He loves the club. And the thing is, we said this on the show, didn't we, Rick? Last one was Spurs the other day. He's only 23. Like, the bloke's the same age as Brennan Johnson. It looks like he could be his dad.
He's been around for a long time, hasn't he? He's been around for a long time. Yeah.
The bloke is an ox. He's strong. Yeah. He's technically gifted. I remember when Pep, I think we went up to the Etihad. It might have been the 3-3. It might have been the Harry Kane masterclass game. I can't remember. But I think Pep come out and said, "Wow, Kulusevski, who's that guy?" Type is it as if to say, like, I want him. And that's a huge compliment. So I think he's been absolutely brilliant, and a long way to continue. I think he did a post-match interview. It might have been a pre-matcher where he said, "I've learned how to defend now," which I thought was very interesting because he was obviously being told or being coached behind the scenes as, look, you've got to get better defensively to play in that middle. Out wide, it's okay. You can leave people to a certain degree. You can track back, but actually in the middle, you've got to be able to use that strength and get in. And I thought he took his goal brilliantly. If Timo Werner could finish, he'd have a couple of other assists to his name as well in that game. And I think his all-round game been absolutely superb.
What I agree was on Kulu, if you saw it, I think he's created more XG at United this season than their actual team has.
Yeah, I know. It's mad.
Really. How does one player create more than the bloody squad?
He created 9 chances himself, didn't he?
Yeah, 9 key passes, 3 big chances created. I think someone in the comments says that Cole Palmer and Kulusevski have both created 15 big chances so far this season, so they're on equal footing. I think the difference is there. Kulusevski has got 2 goal contributions. Cole Palmer's already got 10 goal contributions this season. Yeah. So
and Palmer's played every minute. Decky wasn't in the team against Leicester. He was first game against Newcastle, wasn't in his position. Yeah. So
I think when you're talking about 4 midfielder in the Premier League, I think there are 3 front runners here. It's Kulusevski, it's Cole Palmer, and I'd even put in Liverpool's Ryan Gravenberch in there. I think he's been very impressive, albeit a very different position to what Kulusevski and Cole Palmer are saying. And look, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love what Kulusevski's been doing this season. The whole of last season, I was calling for him to move into the more central areas, and I think he's reaped the benefits of it. I just think that probably, if I'm going to be completely honest, Cole Palmer probably takes the cake on form midfield of the season. But look, it doesn't take away from the fact that Kulusevski's been absolutely brilliant.
Decky's key will be, can he now consistently deliver? And many will say, well, he has been consistently delivering, but what we mean by that is Decky to take these big games by the scruff of the neck. And to be fair, he's got a cut times against City as well. He's a big game player. He really, really is. And I think the thing with Decky is that we've always known there's an unbelievable technical ability about him. The thing is, where is it best to get the most out of him? And I think we're now seeing that centrally. And to be fair, whoever it is that's listened to him in the summer, it's Andrew, it's the coaching staff, absolute credit to them, because to be fair, there were times last season where I'm sure Mackie will agree at the stadium, it was driving us berserk with Kulu, out on the wing, wasn't really getting involved in the game. And look what it just means, just to move him centrally, you're just seeing so much more, because he's got a real footballing brain. Don't underestimate his brain as a footballer. He sees things quicker than other players. You know, that finish, a goal against Man United, that is an unbelievable finish. Not many players could finish like that. It was a remarkable finish. And
Zlatan-esque.
It was. You know what, Ben? You're seeing his confidence grow. You're seeing the team's confidence grow. I've got to just say a quick shout out to Brennan Johnson, because, look, I'll be honest with you with Brennan, whilst I haven't been getting absolutely carried away with him, the key thing for me is how a player reacts to criticism and adversity. Brendan has come back with 4 goals in 4 games and an assist. And look, I know many are going to hold Brendan to that account of, but he needs to do it more against the big clubs. I agree. That's what takes you from being a very, very good player to a world-class player? Can you do it week in, week out? Can you go away from home against the big six, the big four clubs and put in results like that consecutively and dominantly? I think Brendan over time can be that player. I think last season he was very underestimated by what he produced. I think it was 15 GAs for a first season where didn't get a pre-season with Ange Postecoglou, came in at the last day of the summer transfer window. I just think someone like that needs confidence and needs the fans to be behind him. And I absolutely loved the away fans singing his name. That was so lovely. And I think for those that picked up what he said on the Spurs official interview after the game, which we put out on our X, is that he says it. He loves playing for the fans, being there for the fans. And I think, you know what, sometimes you need to recognise a player takes time to come through. It didn't happen, Gareth Bale initially. It takes time for a player. He's a young player, as Macca said, 23 years old. Please, let's get behind him because you can see that guy. He's a confidence player. He feeds off confidence, hence the 4 in 4 and an assist. So just want to say that on Brennan Johnson.
And on Brennan Johnson, one of my questions was, do the fans owe Brennan Johnson an apology? And I think that my answer to that is that I would say sections of the fan base, whoever gets in his DMs and starts abusing him, that's never on. And his own. No, I agree with that. But they massively owe him an apology. But I would say criticism on his performance should be part and parcel of it. And I think like the first 3 or 4 games of the season, he wasn't playing that well. And ever since the Coventry game and the fans singing for him that night, and also at home against Brentford, something's clicked in him and he's completely changed. You're seeing the confidence reap through him. He's taking on his man. He's putting the ball away confidently. He's taking shots off confidently. So I was one that was criticising his performance at the beginning of this season and last season because I don't think he was impacting games enough. But ever since that moment, it seems like something has flicked in him and he is showing that confidence now. And I can't be happier because when us as fans, particularly me, I can only speak for myself, when criticise a player, this is how we want them to respond. We want them to show that uptick in form, show that confidence, show that quality about him. And that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, and he just seems to be thinking less about situations as well. I think maybe, especially with that Arsenal game, I felt like he was getting a lot of the ball. He was receiving it in a lot of space where he had a lot of time to think about what he was going to do. And I feel like in the Brentford game and the United game, he's just getting the ball and he's playing on instinct. He's not thinking too much about what he's doing with the ball. He's getting out of his feet and he's shooting. He's just running beyond the defender and getting it across the box. He's over when he was overthinking it. I think that's maybe where there could be trouble. And I remember even good players can suffer from that. I remember Harry Kane's first season, he scored like a bucket load of goals. And the second season, I remember the first 10 games of the season, he was suffering from, he went on a drought, didn't he? He couldn't hit a barn door those first 10 games. It was because he was overthinking his every touch. He was overthinking everything. And then I remember just what he scored at his first goal of the season, like it was like November or something. And then all of a sudden, like you just saw that confidence start to flood back into him. He just wasn't thinking about things. He was taking snapshots. He was just taking things first time. And I'm seeing Brennan at the moment. He's not overthinking what he's doing at the moment. He's just getting on the ball. He's getting out of his feet first time. He's and that's a big difference I'm seeing in Brennan Johnson. That comes with confidence. That comes in belief in yourself. When you're not second guessing yourself, you're just going on what the manager needs you to do. Because you do so much in training, it should be second nature at that point. And that's what I'm seeing him. On the point about Decky, what I love about Decky at the moment, about him playing in central midfield, is first of all, he clearly looks more comfortable, but I feel like when he was playing out wide last season, how Tottenham play their wingers is we like to manipulate the ball. We like to manipulate the pitch in terms of we get the fullbacks inverted, we get the central midfield all together so that the central midfield becomes congested, so that the wingers become isolated out wide and get them into one-on-one situations with their fullbacks. And I feel like Decky's a player who needs players around him. He loves little 1-2s. He loves to connect with players. And getting him isolated on the right wing isn't going to be the best use of him because he likes to come in field. He likes to do little passing networks with players around him. And I feel like when now he likes being in the tight spaces. Actually, I feel like he lives for those tight spaces because he's so strong. He can hold off players. If players get too near him, he's got the strength just to shield the ball and hold them off. And you saw like players like Ugarte and Mainu and Mount were just bouncing off him on Sunday because they were getting too close to him. And he's so strong. Like Lee was saying, like an ox. He's got unbelievable body strength for a player in his position. I feel like last season he wasn't. He does it, and in fact, he was probably probably playing in more space last season because of the way we play. We're getting the ball out wide to him, and he was isolated to the fullback. But he doesn't like it when he's got space to burn in and run into, unlike Brendan Johnson. He doesn't like all that space. He actually likes people close to him so he can create the space for himself. And that's absolutely perfect for him in that central midfield that we're seeing at the moment. And I think adding him next to Maddison has really added a new dimension to our attack. It makes us so much more unpredictable. I felt like last season, when we had Sarr and Maddison there together, I felt like teams could just double up on Maddison, and that was like our creativity gone, and all of a sudden we were completely neutered. I feel like this season, now we've got Maddison and Decky together, it feels like they don't know which one they can double up on. They can't add extra focus on any of them, because if they put extra focus on Maddison or Decky, it leaves space for the other one, and they can be just as creative as the other. And I feel like this is exactly what Ange, in his perfect kind of system, would have wanted. He would have wanted someone who could be just as good on the ball as Maddison next to him, so it makes us more unpredictable. And I feel like last season, as much as I love Sarr, he's just not as good in the final third as you know, people like Decky and Maddison. And it does remind me a bit of, you know, in my favourite team, my favourite City team was the one when they had like David Silva and De Bruyne together in that Centurions team. I thought that was probably the best version of City in my opinion. And when I look at Maddison together, Maddison and Decky together, it does give me those similar vibes.
100 points on people, come on!
I'm saying De Bruyne is like very physical, but like in a similar way to Decky is, and I feel like Maddison is very good in those small spaces, very similar to David Silva, and it gives me very similar vibes to that. And I think they really complement each other. Exactly what I'm just saying. I feel like Maddison on the ball is amazing, and he can like dribble past people, and he can be unbelievable with his passing ability, view him space. And then Decky is such a strong runner; he can just out muscle you and burst past you. But what I loved about Decky on Sunday is like, when he was, I feel like sometimes maybe this season, his final execution of the pass hasn't quite been there, and maybe he's made some wrong decisions. But I feel like on Sunday, when he was getting those positions, his final pass was brilliant. Those chances he created for Werner through 1-on-1, brilliant passes right in behind, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I'm loving him at the moment. He's brilliant.
I quite like to do that in match, you know what I mean? Like, I quite like, you know, obviously Decky's left-footed and Maddison's right-footed traditionally. You know, when Maddison goes through the other day and scores that chip, he does it with his left foot. He goes through against Brentford. When he goes through and Onana saves, it was a good save, by the way. I don't think he gets enough credit. It's a good goalkeeper, that bloke. Onana saves for Maddison again. He's on the left foot because he's running from in that left side. And actually, the natural position for left and right would be for them to swap. I'm not saying swap the whole time, but actually just in game, like just cross over, go somewhere else. Like have that, you know, Decky's got to go with his left foot, cutting in from the right. Maddison's got to go with his right foot, cutting in from the left. It'd be, you know, narrow because they're in midfield, but actually for them to switch around, because that gives the defences another problem. Like exactly what you're just saying, Simba. Another problem is like, hang on, how am I going to stop him from coming inside or going on the outside? If they've switched over, Maddison can go. Maddison can do what he did against Luton last season when Mickey van der Ven scored. Do you remember? And it was right, and he was right down on the top. Away fans, wasn't he? And he did that like little jink and
same with the Emirates. Same with the Emirates against Saka.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And exactly with the Saka situation. So I'm just looking at that and thinking, and that will be up to them to figure that out between them, like in game, to do something different. Because I just think if you can get Maddison in a position, and I said this quite a lot at the back end of last season and beginning of this season as well, if you can get Maddison in a position or Son in a position in and around that box where they can let fly, same as Decky. Think of Decky against Norwich all them years ago under Conte. Do you remember that? Think of that. Imagine that now. Getting them Decky, Son, Maddison in and around that, doing top bins in that position. Mm-hmm. Our team need to be pushing the opposition away so that we can get in them positions for him to get his shot away. And I just think Maddison hasn't scored enough goals like that, top bins or free kick type.
Agreed.
I mean, I think that's going to come, but I think it comes from their understanding of playing together like this, but then they switch over and just be a nightmare for defenders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like as soon as Maddison starts hitting it top bins, the teams are going to have to come out to him. They can't leave him in that space. That's going to leave more space for the likes of Solanke and other players to get in those positions. I feel like as well, when Maddison and Decky are in there. What I've seen the last 2 games, like I feel like last season a big criticism was that we're so like stringent to this way of Ange play in terms of getting out wide, getting those cutbacks, and like that was the only way of attack. But I feel like now we've got Decky and Maddison there, he's kind of giving them that freedom in the central area to kind of play with each other and work together. And that's just and that married with a bit more structure when we do get out wide, we know what we're doing with those cutbacks, then add that unpredictability when we do go through the centre, having Decky Maddison there, it's going to be very, very hard for opposition teams to stop. And also Decky's pressing as well is phenomenal because he's so strong. As soon as he gets near you, he's winning the ball off you because of his strength.
And Maddison's pressing is back to how it was at the beginning of last season pre-injury, hence my comment about injury earlier. It's weird actually, Sim. It's almost like the coaches and the team and Ange are building the foundations to be able to layer on more and more so we get better and better. Weird, that, isn't it? It's weird. That's actually
it's like a project. It's like a rebuild. Strange, isn't it?
Crazy.
Yeah, I want to go on to the last talking point of the day as we are running out a bit of time. Looking ahead to Thursday night, Ferencváros away in the Europa League, 5:45 kickoff. I hope I got that pronunciation right, by the way.
I'm still trying to learn it for our show.
What kind of lineup do you guys want to see? Because obviously Sonny is probably going to be out. We don't know what's going on with Destiny. Do we want to risk them on Thursday night with a big game away at Brighton on the weekend? I'll start with you, Ricky. What kind of lineup do you expect to see? What do you want to see? Do you want to see Mikey Moore come in?
I know Mac is going to go, oh, here he goes again. But I'm so disappointed that we haven't got Jed Spence available for this competition because he played so well against United that it would have been the perfect way to reward him. Now, here's a Europa start because I know there's this situation around Destiny with regards to his quad that they obviously want to be precaution about, hence why he came off.
I don't want to go live.
You know, because
hi guys, we're back live. We're back live.
They can't hear us.
Are the boys said anything?
Yeah, we're
I
back
think
live.
Ben just said we're going live in 10 seconds. So
We are live. We are
Okay.
live.
They can't hear
I've
us.
just
They
sent them a
can't hear
picture.
us.
Maybe we have to come out and
Put
come
the
back
thumbnail
in again,
back
I don't
on.
know.
Should we try that?
Sorry about this, guys. Sorry about everything out there. We are back live, and it cut off just as Ricky was about to give us his truths on Mikey Moore about whether he should start on Thursday. So, see you laughing there, Ricky, but it's no laughing matter when it comes to Mikey Moore.
I thought you were pronouncing better Ferencvaros that put the screen down.
Probably.
No, like I say, no, it would be like an opportunity to see Mikey get game time. I think we're all excited. And what I was going to say is actually, before we crashed, is that had Mikey scored that goal at Old Trafford, I think we all would have crashed because that would have been an unbelievable moment, wouldn't it? If that went in for 4-0, my God, I'm not sure how we would have reacted. But I think what was quite interesting is Ange was asked the question in his pre-match before the game against United. Would you be afraid to start Mikey in the Premier League? And he went, not so sure about that. So I think Mikey's probably on the verge now of getting that opportunity for a start. Maybe it does come in the Europa League because, look, they're a fairly, to us, unknown quantity. I can't say I know a huge amount about them. Although I will do some research on them, of course, ahead of the game on Thursday. But look, it's an opportunity, as I said, to just keep the momentum going. You know, I think Ange will probably, like he has done, rotate. I don't think it'll be as heavily as Coventry. I think we'll see a similar lineup to that of Karabag, where again he'll make a few adjustments. I think, look, Brighton is a big game for Spurs on the Sunday, and I think we've mentioned this about how Spurs do navigate the Thursday to Sunday in general, because I think that was one of the things definitely under Maurizio that we struggled with at times, to be fair to him. And under the previous managers, we know that weren't even wanting to be in Europe. So it feels that he's just got to get that right in terms of that rotation piece. But I think in the whole, an opportunity again for probably people might not be saying this, but Timo Werner probably needs more minutes. Let's be honest about it. You know, I know there's a couple of big misses against United that we mentioned on our show, but he's not had a huge amount of game time. So you'd imagine Timo will get minutes on Thursday. Dominic Solanke's in good form now. Is that again another opportunity for confidence-wise him to keep on scoring? Wouldn't be against that. But I think at the same time, you have got to have one eye on Brighton on Sunday. It won't be an easy game despite them just being battered by Chelsea. So it's just about making the necessary changes so the lineup isn't necessarily too weakened, but good enough to go and get a result in Europe.
Lee, who would you like to see start in the front line? Obviously, Sonny probably won't make it. Odebear's out. So I guess there's not too much options, isn't there? There's Will Lancashire, there's there chomping at the bit to get on the pitch. There's Mikey Moore chomping at the bit. Or would you like to just see it go? Because Thursday and Saturday, I think, bar Sonny, it was the same, wasn't it? With Solanke and Brennan on the right. Would you like to see Mikey Moore come in on the left or Timo Werner to retain his spot?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite critical of Timo on our show that we did after Manchester United, because I think he's in the side to put them chances away. And not being funny, he needs to put them chances away. I think he needs it for the fan base. Need it. He needs it. He needs it for his confidence. So so I was the biggest criticism I had of the whole situation on Saturday, and it wasn't a harsh criticism because we won 3-0. So like, what's there to moan about? But it was the finishing of Timo. And I think that's fair. So to see him come in and get them goals, he needs to get some goals, lads, doesn't he? And viewers, he needs to get some goals under his belt just to get some confidence. But that also means that Mikey Moore then potentially doesn't get a start. And just again, I said it at the beginning of the show about the Poch era and Poch making loads of changes, and it feels like that again here. How many times have we absolutely chomping at the bit for Harry Kane to start a Premier League game? Do you remember when he first came in? He was starting some Europa games and he was getting some games, and all of us, to a person, to a fan, we were like, Kane, get him in. And it was wait. You look at Phil Foden, obviously, over at Man City, and how many of their fans and everybody, English fans, were saying, get him in. And Pep's like, no, we're blooding him in, gradually, and actually, does he become the player he is today without doing that? And so there's some instances there with young talent. I think you've got to trust the guys around there. I would absolutely love to see Will Lancashire and Mikey Moore have a go. I don't think it would be from the start, though. I think start a couple of the seniors. I think Dominic Solanke is still getting up to fitness. He's almost like using these Europa League games as a bit of a pre-season as an effect. And I think, and the same almost with Brennan Johnson is like, they are on fire. Keep it going. Do you know what I mean? Like if Brennan starts and he gets another couple of goals against this lot, his confidence is going to go through the roof. And the same with Solanke. So I think my viewpoint on these games is that, one, playing every 3 days, I think is going to be good for us. We've got a manager that's talking it up rather than talking it down, as Rick just said about earlier, and I love that. And I think, when you're playing rubbish and you're playing poor, and, you want these games to come thick and fast to get out to play yourself into form. When you're playing really well, you want these games to come thick and fast because you want to continue the momentum, right? So I don't think there's any downside. My viewpoint would be that you keep maybe 4 or 5 at the spine. I'm actually really pleased that you played Vicario against carrier bag, as Rick was calling it the other day, because ultimately, we probably don't keep a clean sheet. No disrespect, if Vic's not in goal. So I'd like to see that. I think Van de Ven needs a rest, but this time Romero's back, so Dragusin comes in, and actually maybe you keep a Romero in there, so it's still
Dragusin's out. Dragusin's suspended.
Banned, isn't he? Yeah.
Of course, Dragusin is out. Forgive me, because he's got a ban. So you got Ben Davies coming in there for sure, then, because you can't be playing Mickey Van de Ven, I don't think, again, because we're running the risk of his tasty hamstrings going down.
But Lee, what do we do then if Destiny Udogie can't play? Because you got Udogie out, you got Dragusin out. Spence ain't part of the squad.
That's what I think. I think Gray left back and Porro have to play again.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? Yeah, again, and that comes back to the point Rick you made earlier about the whole Jed Spence situation. Because if Jed Spence is available, you play Jed Spence left back, wouldn't you? You play Archie back right, and then you play Ben Davies and Romero as your backs. I think you bring in you don't want to change it up too much, but if Basuma's going to be playing, I think it'd be half and half between Basuma and Bentancur. I think they'll play half each or something along the lines. Maybe Basuma starts, gets 60 minutes, then Bentancur comes on, and Basuma maybe starts against Brighton. And then, the forward line, I mean, I'd love to see Mikey. I think, raise your hands if you'd all like to see Mikey. I think we all would, wouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? So, not like exactly. But I do think that these I don't want to be disrespectful because we don't know them, and it's away from home, and it might be a tough game. And with all the faults that Werner's got, and he's got a lot. Let's be fair about it, but he has got experience. He has got experience in European football, playing away from home, hostile crowds, and like I say, all he needs is actually for the good of the rest of the season, he only needs to get 2 or 3 goals, even if one goes in off his backside or he takes a 1-on-1, and then the confidence is up. Look at the turnaround we've just seen with Johnson. If that happens to Werner, wow! I mean, we're cooking on gas, aren't we, team?
100%. We are, but I mean, we've been waiting for this Werner uptick in form for about 5 years now since that season he had at Leipzig, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, the back four is an interesting one because you're looking at those are the 4 players that will probably play. Pedro Porro at right back. Does Gray come in at centre back or does he go to left back? And then you've got Ben Davis. Does he play at centre back or left back? And then obviously Coutinho Romero. So which way do you think he'll go with it?
I reckon he goes Gray left back because so he can invert and play in that midfield position as well. I think he's probably a bit more comfortable there. And in a way, the way we play our fullbacks, even though he's right-footed, it could suit him inverting, coming into the central mid, a bit like how Timber does it for Arsenal or something like that. So I think he'll go. I reckon he puts Gray left back. Porro got a rest last week, so he's going to play this week. Like Udogie played last week, and obviously he went off injured. So. Obviously, Romero was suspended for the first game, so he can play this game. So actually, as much as it's frustrating not having Dragoshin or Udogie, the fact that Romero and Porro got a rest last week puts them in a better position to be able to play this week. So they can play those couple games.
And then you're looking at the midfield. I assume Bissouma comes in. Bentancur's played a lot of minutes, obviously. And then Bergvall has to start after the heartache of going off after 10 minutes in the last game. So who takes the last spot? I think Maddison gets a rest because I think he did him the world of good for that rest against Manchester United. So do you go Kulusevski or do you go Pape Matar for that last spot?
I think Sarr, yeah, really. Sarr needs game time as well. Get up to speed. Definitely.
Because you saw that midfield. Was that the same midfield? Was it Bissouma at Coventry or was it it was Bentancur, wasn't it? It was Bentancur, Sarr, Bergvall.
I think we'll get some news this week on the Bentancur ban. So the reality is, if he doesn't play this Thursday, you're then going to have to wait until the next European game to get him to play. So I don't know whether you do play Bentancur this Thursday just to keep him involved with game time. I mean, I know he's had quite a lot of game time in the last...
Guys, sorry to interrupt you a bit, but Rick, do you said about getting news. Well, is his ban going to be affected just in the Premier League? Is it an FA ban?
Domestic.
The FA Cup. It'll be FA Cup, League, and Carabao.
Yes, so he's going to be a guy that plays in that role.
He'll be our Thursday night man, won't he? He'll be our Thursday night man. It'll be interesting what Ange does, actually, if he does play him on Thursday, because you've got this impending ban hanging over him, which I think we're expecting to get some news on this week, the severity, the length of it. So, yeah, we'll be holding our breath.
They're saying it's going to be a minimum of 6 games, don't they? So, it's going to be, which is frustrating. But, I think, or is it, how do you know it's this week? Was that what they're saying this week?
I'm led to believe we'll get some form of a decision this week or next week, but I was led to believe it'll be this week. We're going to hear some news on it. So,
okay. That'll be interesting. So maybe he will play them, Bentancur, if that's true.
Yeah, if they get the news, obviously, before Thursday, then I assume Bentancur will come straight in, and then it will be... Yeah. But then that does bring it back to the exact same midfield that we had against Coventry, Bentancur, Sarr, Bergvall. And let's be honest, they didn't perform great, but I guess, they are great players in their own right, and the more they play with each other, the more they get used to each other, and I guess the more synergy that they'll show together.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree. I think Bergvall has looked really good when he's come on in games. He just, like I said, like Lee said earlier, needs the opportunity to play. He was devastated not to play, of course, the amount of minutes he got in the previous game against Karabakh, but at the same time, he looks like he's really, chomping at the bit. He's come on. He's obviously provided the semi-assist for Solanke during the game against Man United. The guy wants to play, so look, this needs the game time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think if you can, we didn't talk about the goalkeeper, Ben, to be fair, but if you can,
not Fraser Forster, mate, just not Fraser Forster. I can't be seeing him come in.
I mean, you got to keep 5 of them, what you call kind of senior players as the rocks in there, and that would probably be, for me, that would be a Romero, a Vicario, a Bissouma you would put in there. Maybe you'd put a Sarr in that category because he was a starter all last year and he's got that experience. And then maybe a Dominic Solanke up front and a Timo Werner with and then you sprinkle in a Bergvall, Porras. It's quite And Ben
Porro will
Davies
start,
is that's actually quite a senior team. Maybe we should put some more youngsters in the team. Let's get Mikey Moore in, Will Lancashire. Let's get them all on. Let's go.
Would you
it's
be
imperative Lancashire plays, I think, or some sort of minutes because he needs to get going this season.
Yeah, I'd like to see Solanke start and then maybe come off with half an hour, 25 minutes to go and give Will Lancashire significant game time. I mean, would you be against the front three of Timo, Solanke, and Moore on the right?
No, I think that's cool. I just think that, I think that's good. I think just seeing how Brennan is at the moment, you know, if Brennan doesn't start or play, he can't get 5 in 5, can he? And I think and I know Ange won't be thinking like that, but actually from a confidence of a player perspective, from where he's come from, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, to be going into that Brighton game with Brennan scoring 5 and 5.
He'll be 5 and 5 after Brighton, though.
It could be. To be fair, if he doesn't play, if he don't play at all, it could well be. I do want to see Mikey Moore. I think what Ange will do will be different to what we want. I don't think he starts him, which is a shame. Away from home, I don't think he starts him. Maybe if it's a home game, maybe. But even in the home game, we just had, didn't start him, did he? So I don't think he starts him. But I wouldn't be opposed to what you just said before, which was Werner, Solanke, and maybe Johnson to start, and then bring Lancashire and Moore on with 30, 35 minutes to go once the game's done. If we can get the job done, boys. Our away record in Europe is shocking.
Yeah.
Well, Richarlison was seen on the grass last week, so maybe he's getting close to fitness as well, which could be good.
That's a great point, Tim, because that is the other dynamic that we're not even thinking about yet until you brought it up, is that a fully fit Richarlison, you've seen him in that 8-9 game spell last season, that when he's fully fit and on it, he can do something for us. And now we're not reliant on him as being our number 9 because we've got Dom. So actually comes in as kind of somebody that comes in after 30 minutes of 35 minutes game left to huge asset to come off the bench and change the game up, and even go 2 up top if you need to. If you're under a cosh and you need another goal, you can have both of them up top. Do you know what I mean? In some instances, so he needs to be fit, doesn't he, Sim? He needs to get fit.
Agreed. I think that'd be vital. Also allows us to give Solanke a rest when need be, and because a lot at the moment we're very reliant on him playing up front because he's our only fit striker, and he makes such a difference, doesn't he, Solanke? What a difference he's made in that forward line with his pressing and his hold-up play. He's been. I mean, it's been such early days in his Tottenham career, but you can really see what he's bringing to the team already, can't you? Which is a real testament to himself and also the recruitment, like bringing him in. Because a lot of people questioned that, didn't they?
I think you got to put your tats off to the recruitment and the Ange Postecoglou for the way they're building this squad. I don't think it's anything close to the finished article yet. Well, I do think it's fairly close, but not the finished article just yet. When you're looking at the squad this season compared to last season, you're worried about if certain players come in. But this year, you're looking at the squad, you're not really worried if any of these certain players come in.
Yeah, there's not a biggest drop-off, Ben, in terms of quality. I think that's really important to say that last season you were worried if you had an injury at left or right back. Now, I do feel with Spence in the last couple of games for me, I feel quite assured that if Destiny isn't available, if Porro isn't available, I think Jed can do a job for us. And I think going back, not being negative, I think that's for me one of the disappointments that he's not in these first set of Europa games. I think he could have really benefited from the regular game time because of the Premier League. But listen, please God, we have a long Europa campaign and Jed's there for the second part of it and helps us get to Bilbao, fingers crossed. Yeah,
it's just that when you're trying to navigate this part of the season where you got 2 games a week, literally every week, it's just a shame after what he's shown in the Premier League when coming on that he's not, because, right in the situation that we're in now, if Destiny's not going to play and you got and Radu Dragusin out suspended, he would have come straight in. And it just doesn't make sense to me.
With Archie Gray, they obviously feel that he's so adaptable and flexible that he can play central midfield, he can play right back. I'm sure, again, he can play centre back as well. So, I mean, to go back to Andy's word of befuddled, I am befuddled by that decision. But again, gonna have to take him on it. He's the boss.
To be fair, a friend of the show, obviously Ali Gold, is a long time comes on our show and all that sort of stuff. Last one, Spurs, and he said, didn't he? Every week he was asking Ange the same question in the press conferences, wasn't he, about the homegrown scenario and Europe and all that sort of stuff. I think at one point Ange just said to him, he said, you're more worried about it than I am, Ali, or whatever. and in the end, Ali was proved to be it was right to be raising it because he had to make some tough decisions. So I think Ange knew that. It is a shame, but look, maybe and look. Bigger picture here. Maybe it will sort itself out later on. Like you just said, we have a longer time in it, and we don't need it. But it does feel a bit strange for this upcoming game. If Destiny's not fit or if he's struggling, I wouldn't be risking Destiny at all because we need him in the Premier League because he's been brilliant. So we now haven't got a recognised left back unless you put Ben Davies there. But then if you do that, then we haven't got a left-sided centre-back to come in because Dragusin, and then you've got to play Mickey van der Ven. And I think all of us are in agreement that he needs a day off, right?
Yeah,
agree.
I know McAllister,
go on.
Sunday is the Highline derby, lads. Brighton against Spurs.
You and your Highline derbies. The last time we had a Highline derby, Rick, away from home, we absolutely smashed them 4-0. And everyone was telling me that Villa are miles better than Tottenham and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And we went up there and we absolutely ruined them. So let's hope we're going to do the same to
you're right. I mean, look,
Van der Ven's his hamstrings are really going to get a workout on Sunday, that's for sure.
They seem to be done by one ball over the top, so fingers crossed we can work our magic against Ferencváros on Thursday and be ready for the derby.
João Gomez, long ball over the top from Lewis Dunk. João Gomez, is that
João Pedro.
We ever go at at times of a high line, but we've not got Lewis Dunk as our centre back in our high line, have we? So we should be complaining, maybe.
100%. But look, I think that does bring an end to the panel show. I want to say a big thank you to our great guests and friends, Ricky and Lee from Last Word on Spurs. Look, I know all of you probably know where to find Last Word on Spurs, but for those of you who don't, Ricky, let us know what's coming up this week.
Chaotic, manic, marriage costing at this rate, the amount of games we've got now in December. We've got a preview show that we're doing later on this evening for Ferencváros for this coming Thursday. We've then obviously got our post-match show straight after the game, which again, you boys will be doing lots of content for as well. And we're taking you through, of course, for the next few weeks. We've got the international break coming up. We've got busy shows going on over there. So we've got loads of stuff going on. Always got loads of stuff going on, Ben, as a Lee will tell you.
International break that they stick in October. Bloody hell, lads.
We never stop, and that's on and off the pitch. The podcasters, the YouTubers, the team. But Lee, if you guys are living under a rock and don't know who Louis McQueen is, let us know where they can find you, my friend, apart from on Last Word on Spurs.
For sure, mate. Thanks for a shout out. Last one on Spurs. You can find me on X at Lee McQueen, Lee.McQueen on Insta. The happy place is Insta. The cesspit is Twitter.
I'm loving Mac's little 2-minute segments after a game now on the way back from the South Stand. Make sure you're going to check them out. Lee's doing some lovely little bit of analysis actually straight after a game, raw footage, emotional. He's been quite lucky though. He's been wins so far. He's come away from pretty much.
It's not as good as Ben and Tim's content, team. Let's be fair. Sometimes it's just nice to get. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just nice to get out your thoughts when you walk back from a stadium, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? And 100%. I've been doing that as well. So, on X, you can find me, whatever. Last one on Spurs, lads, and actually on here now because it feels like that we're going to be doing some stuff throughout the rest of the season, lads. So let's do that, man.
Be lovely.
Exactly. Watch this space for the We Are Tottenham TV and Last Word on Spurs crossover. But once again, thank you to the Last Word on Spurs lads for coming on today. Thank you everyone out there in the comments for sticking with us through the bumps in the road along the way. But we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.